I'm Bill.
And I'm Candace.
And we're the Disruptors.
Welcome to the Disruptors Podcast with Bill and Candace, the podcast that politely kicks conventional business wisdom in the shins. We're not here to color inside the lines. We're flipping charts, rewriting strategies, and giving buzzwords an early retirement. If you're planning, growing, or promoting anything from a startup to a lemonade stand, we're here to make sure you do it louder, smarter, and just weird enough to work. Let's cause some well-intentioned chaos.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Disruptors. We have got a phenomenal show here today for you. What we're excited about, and that is that we are bringing some new shows on the network. And then I'm going to introduce this amazing individual in just a moment, and individuals that have amazing voices that completely need to be heard. So, with all of that said, Deborah, welcome to the show. Her podcast is going to be called Debra and Friends. And could we start just right here, just for a brief moment? Could you tell us a little bit about your show, and then we're going to start the questions for you.
Yes, my name is Deborah, and my show, I'm going to have different people come and tell us about their journey and why they have come to the mental health field, tell us about their journey and how they've overcome the things that they've overcome.
Well, that's awesome. You know, healthcare is so much more than, it's not a once and done, right? It's a very complex topic. And Bill and I are so excited to have you onto the network. And I'm hoping that one of the things that we can do is actually create empowerment tools and incredible stories, Deborah. So we're so excited. Welcome to the network. More than anything, welcome to the show. Here we go. We're going to find out about Deborah and what is her great, big, huge why. So, Deborah, do you want to start telling us a little bit about your journey? And you can go into as much detail or not, whatever is your comfort level.
Of course. So I would like to start back from when I was a kid. I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I was adopted out at 9 months. I was adopted to a family in Arizona. So life seemed to be going pretty good, considering that I had a rough start at life. And then my granny passed away when I was in the second grade. And then I feel like she was like the glue to the family. And so I feel like things just fell apart, you know. So I started getting sexually abused at the age of 7. I didn't really understand what was going on or why or anything. I was told I wasn't allowed to tell. I didn't think at the time that if it was happening to me, that it was happening to other people. I just really thought if it was happening to me, maybe it wouldn't be happening to anybody else. And so I let it go. And I was sexually abused for years after that. So I did, it was all through school up until my junior high years. And the way I coped with it is I ran. That was my coping skill at the time when I would get in trouble at home because I was being sexually abused and I couldn't tell anybody. I tried to tell people, but it was, oh, that couldn't happen. Not in your house. That wouldn't happen in your house. And, well, at 17 years old, I ended up pregnant from my sexual abuse. And I wasn't allowed to have an abortion, and I wasn't allowed to give it up for adoption. I had to take care of it. But at the same time, my parents told me that I had to go to school and sent me off to college. And I did college and nursing school. And I wanted to go back for my baby, but my parents wouldn't give me back my baby because I was a single parent and I wouldn't know what to do. So then
Deborah, I'm sorry. Let me just stop you right there. So due to your sexual abuse, you've got a child, you go to school, you are putting your life together, technically your adopted parents, are they the ones that are helping you raise the child, or are they raising the child?
They're raising the child at this point. I didn't have a choice. I probably would have stayed behind and raised my child, but I wasn't allowed to. I had to further my education in my home. That was the option. There was no other option.
I'm just trying to bring the clarification because these are life-impacting, situations.
So then I hurried up and got married. And so I didn't know really what the right thing to do was. And then I got married, got pregnant on my honeymoon. So I went to my parents and I said, look, I'm married. I'm able to take care of my daughter. Like, let me have my daughter. And they said no. And so I thought, at this point, I'm pregnant. My husband at the time was going to take my kid away from me, like my parents took my daughter away from me. I was going to just not have my kid. I just felt like everybody was against me at this point. And so I ran away from my husband and stuff, and I moved to Joplin, Missouri. I had a friend there, and I was there for a while, and my husband at the time had found me and came to Joplin, Missouri too. So then he got a hold of his aunt who lives in Des Moines, Iowa. So we moved from Joplin, Missouri to Des Moines, and we lived with his aunt while I was still pregnant with my son. And then so I had my son in September, and then, well, that was a little bit rough. I was learning to be a mom and a wife and hold a job because my husband at the time was cheating on me, was not very helpful. So I tried to keep our little family together while he was out doing what he was doing. Then he wanted to move into our own apartment. As I look back on it, I see now why. But so we moved into our own apartment. In 2008, I had my second son. But after I had my first son, let me go back a minute. After I had my first son, I had postpartum depression really bad. And they sent me into outpatient mental health facility where I had to go to these groups and stuff. And so it was then that I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which I would come to find out later that my biological mom has bipolar as well. But I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And then,
Deborah, was that the first time that you had any type of clinical diagnosis of anything? I'm curious as to, because this was the first time, right, that you were being diagnosed?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if it was the first time, I'm curious about before the diagnosis, did you think that you had something not quite right, or what did it feel like for you?
So I feel like there were things that weren't quite right, but growing up it was, it's just because you want attention, or you weren't sad, you just need to do this, or this is going on, or so I got pushed under the rug. I felt like there wasn't something right. But this is the first time that I ever got clinically diagnosed as bipolar.
I want to dive into just for a brief moment. Were you scared? Talk to me about what did it feel like around that? What did it feel like around that?
So at first I thought, this postpartum depression, it'll just go away. I go to these classes and then I'll feel better. And then I got diagnosed with bipolar, and then I became very scared. because I've never, at this point, I didn't know anything about my biological family. I didn't know, what even mental health was. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't know how I was supposed to feel. I didn't know if it was getting answers to maybe how I was feeling, or was it going to get used against me? Like my kids were going to get taken, or, just there was a lot around the diagnosis that I wasn't sure about.
Sure. How confusing was that for you? Was there anybody there to help, guide you through the process or anything like that?
No, not really. I completed the outpatient program. I was on meds. And, I was going to my doctor's appointments with the meds, and my husband at the time was telling my doctor, oh, she's doing this, oh, she's doing that, and making it sound like I'm doing worse than what I was doing, just so he could cheat on me. So it was very hard at the beginning, and that was at the beginning of my diagnosis.
Okay. So there wasn't anybody there for you to help guide, no social workers, no nothing. Only because how do you navigate? I mean, it would be just like, okay, somebody's saying that, you have a heart problem. Okay, you start going to the cardiologist. But sometimes our problems are caused due to other internal. So, I mean, then you're seeing an internalist. And so.
So when you get diagnosed with mental health, you see a psychiatrist. And that psychiatrist will ask you a series of questions, and then will determine if they need to add medicine, take away medicine, if they need to send you to a different doctor, or is there more than just bipolar? Is there more than, because there's a lot to mental health. So when I first started telling my story, I then got diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety, and so I have multiple diagnoses now just from the bipolar diagnosis, from going to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist actually sitting down and listening. And sometimes you get a psychiatrist that won't listen, and that you could go in and be like, oh, I need this med, or I need this med, and they'll be like, okay, and write you a script, and just to get you in and out. And so it's very important to find a psychiatrist that you can communicate with, and that actually listens to you, and that actually wants the best for you and is on your team, not trying to work against you.
Is that hard to have?
Yes. I look for a psychiatrist. I say 3 to 4 meetings with the same psychiatrist, and if I don't feel like I'm being seen or heard, then I find a different one. But you have to give them at least 3 or 4 times before you switch. You can't switch on the first one, because the first one is just gathering information. So you can't really tell by the first conversation what kind of psychiatrist it is. So I say 3 or 4 different meetings with the same psychiatrist, and if you still feel like you aren't being seen or heard, then it's time to find another one.
That cost you to learn that knowledge. I mean, you had to have gone through some things to have been able to be able to tell us that today. You've been diagnosed. Then what happens?
So then I have my youngest son. And once again, I have really postpartum depression, bad postpartum depression. But this time they put me on antidepressants before that are okay for you to take while you're pregnant. So we caught it a little bit before. But when I had my youngest son, I had him, and nobody was in the room with me. Like, my husband was off doing whatever he was doing, not with me. So I was the only one in that room with the doctors. And so I felt really alone and really afraid, and you can only handle so much. So he was born, and I got home. I was released from the hospital. Everything was fine. I got back on my psych meds that were permitted, and then me and my husband separated. And then,
Deborah, how much of the mental illness did you think had affected your marriage, if any? I'm just curious.
well, I think it played a big part in my marriage. Number one, not understanding the mental health journey played a part. Number two, having somebody that wanted to cheat on me and played it against me really played a part in it as well. And the unknown. I really didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, what I was supposed to be feeling, how I was supposed to be feeling. So I'm diagnosed with bipolar 1 and 2, which means I am manic and I am depressive. I have both. So I could be manic and then I could be really bad depressive. So I really didn't know. Like, mental health is a really tricky thing, and I think a lot more people have it and just don't know it.
I think you're right. Matter of fact, I'm sure you are.
So then, well, when I was still with my husband in our apartment, he had a temper, and he put my oldest son's head through a wall. And so, of course, I took him to the ER, and DHS got involved from then on and put a China on him. And if you don't know what a China is, it's a child in need of assistance. So there was a China out on my kids, and it was, so DHS got involved, and then my kids got taken because of my mental health, because they said that without my husband or somebody helping me, I couldn't take care of my kids on my own with my mental health issues. My meds were everywhere. I wasn't stable on my meds. I would go from one med to another, and I was not able to take care of me, let alone my kids. So I had asked my adopted parents if they would help me, and they refused. So they went to the aunt that we had moved in with when we first came to Iowa. So my rights got terminated, and then she adopted them through the DHS. And so I had lost my boys due to the fact of my mental health issues.
And then what happened, Deborah, after that? I mean, how do you pick up the pieces then?
Well, I thought, well, if I can't have my kids because I'm mentally unstable, then I don't need to be mentally stable for anything. So I started, that was the start of my drug addiction. I lost my kids. I had to write them a goodbye letter. And then that was the start of me self-medicating. I started with weed, and then I did pharmaceutical parties. I dipped into a little bit of everything because, I became a drug addict. And
while you were self-medicating, though? Yes.
So sometimes I would take my meds, sometimes I wouldn't. So I don't know how at that time, how I would have pulled myself out of a deep, dark place. I didn't have much of a support system there. I was in and out of jail.
For what charges, Deborah? Was it just like petty crimes and stuff like that, or?
So first it was petty crimes. So like misdemeanors, some writing bad checks or and stuff. And then I started going into felonies. I robbed a bank. And then when I was in jail, they would get me medicated, and then they would release me, and then I would not get medicated anymore. And then I would end up back. The last crime I did was robbing a bank. And then I came to a facility from jail. I spent a year in jail for that crime, and I had to do 2 years probation plus complete this program. This is really where I started to learn about mental health, learn why I did some of the things I did, and why, like, some of my knacks and stuff, like, why I did those. And I really found doctors that really cared for me here. And so,
Is that hard to do? Find doctors that care?
Yes. Some doctors are just like, well, you're just saying this or that. Or they're like, oh, yep, we could write a script for that. Yep, we could do that. Or you could go in and be like, well, look, I think I can, so I have a payee at this time. And so, like, I would, with one of my doctors that I had, I would be like, hey, I'm good to make my own financial decisions. Can you write that I'm good to Social Security? And he'd be like, yeah. And he would write it, and it was a disaster. So for someone to have a psychiatrist that truly cares, that could have the tough conversations with you, and that actually don't really care if they hurt your feelings or not, but lay it all out for you, is somebody you want to hold on to.
So when you would go in and out, and you're on medication, you're off medication, do you think that, to me on this side, it would be like that added to the mental confusion of it all? Because one minute you're seeing clarity and then the next minute you're not. Was it like that for you, or no,
yes,
not at all?
No, definitely like that. So the thing about it is like, including with bipolar, like, you feel better, and then you go off your meds, but you don't see that your meds are the things that make you feel better. If that makes any sense, like, you're like, oh, I feel better. I don't need to take my meds anymore. I'm healed. I don't need these meds to feel better. And then all of a sudden you're in a whirlwind of trouble, and then you're like, why do I feel this way? Oh, probably because you stopped taking your meds, idiot. So, I mean,
Sure.
I would do that all the time. Oh, I feel better. I don't need my meds. Oh, probably should take my meds. Oh, I feel better. I don't need my meds. I did that for many, many years. Many years.
Do you think that doing that delayed your recovery, or was it
Yes,
part of the recovery?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
So healing has been a big part of my recovery too, but healing with a mental illness is really hard, because you got triggers and things that bring things up that you haven't healed from, and then you're dealing with all this other stuff. But mental health wise, I think me going on and off meds just added to the trauma of things.
Sure, absolutely. So where are you at today when you look back on your journey?
Well, when I look back on my journey, I see a girl who didn't have anyone or anything, was troubled, abused, and was just looking for somebody to love and care for her. And then what I see now is someone who is healing, who is loved, and who is cared for. And I mean, I have a support system. I have people at my job that just love the crap out of me. And I just got back to work not too long ago. So, I mean, it's just a community rising up behind you and showing you that you are cared for and you are seen and you are heard, even though sometimes it feels like you aren't.
So right now, if you were to tell somebody that, actually right now, if somebody was struggling with their mental health journey, Deborah, what would you tell them?
That you are seen and that you're heard, and that you're here for a reason, and I'm here to listen if you needed anybody to talk to. Is there something I can do to help you? I'll meet you where you're at. Like, how can I help you succeed in life? Because that's what it's all about, right? Is getting the help we need at a faster, I can't really say faster pace, but at an earlier time, and not let it go before it becomes bad.
And bad looks like different things to everybody else. Were you ever
Correct.
homeless?
I was homeless. So in my drug addiction and in my mental health of not taking meds, I would couch surf. Sometimes I would do crimes intentionally to get locked up because it was cold outside and I needed to eat and stuff. Homelessness and mental health are very big because most people that are homeless have mental health issues, and it's very sad. It makes me so sad.
Do you think that the homeless problem, as far as mental illness, can be solved, or do you think that it's just going to continue to grow? I mean, it's really out of control, and I understand it's a very complex issue, and there are those that don't want help, and then, of course, there are those that want the help, right? So, I mean, it's hard to vet through all of that.
I think that the community needs to rise up and help the homeless mental health people that want the help. You can't just go, oh, it's just some homeless person, because there's more to that person than just them homeless. How do they become homeless? Like, there's reasons for people to be where they're at. Not because they wanted to be there, but something happened that they're there. Be mental health, whether it be death and, you know, you go off the rails and you just lose your shit. You know, there's a reason why somebody is homeless, and I don't think anybody should ever be judged because their homelessness. I think we should give homeless people a job. I think if we could get them to work and then have them like in a homeless shelter and have them save money and then get them on their feet and show them that we are supporting them and want them to do good. It's all about a support. We all need some kind of support. And when I didn't have any, I felt like shit. I didn't feel like anybody cared about me. I didn't think anybody gave two shits about me. I lost my kids. I lost my husband. I mean, I wasn't worth anything. I was homeless. I was on drugs. Nobody wanted me. But yet here I am having this conversation. And here I am talking about my story and my journey and why I'm here.
Well, Deborah, you're an overcomer. And obviously, you've got a purpose to be here. You wouldn't be. And, you know, Bill and I have got our own kind of personal interests. We both have had friends that have suffered from mental illness and not gotten the help that they needed. And, you know, I'm not so sure if, you know, Bill might even have a friend or two that's still missing. So, I don't know. It's a huge issue, and medication is part of it. Community awareness, another part. People that are actually trained, really trained to help one another. So, Deborah, I just want to thank you for your courage. I want to thank you for fighting it out, for fighting it through. And I'm sure it's an everyday journey for you. Because you'd spoken about, you know, the drug addictions and different things like that. And I think living is just an everyday adventure. Thank you for sharing, and I cannot hardly wait till your show comes online and we can absolutely dive into this much more deeper. I'm excited to see the different types of people. Is there a final thought that you would like to say?
I would like to say that never give up hope. There's if we could just make it through the day, never give up hope. There's always another day to do better. If we keep doing the next right thing, then the next right thing comes back to us. And so mental health is something that we should not take lightly. And on the show, we will have people that are actually trained in the mental health, and we'll hear people's stories of their mental health journey too. So it should be fun.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Hey, Deborah, thanks so much for being on our show. And remember, Deborah's show is called Debra and Friends, and it'll be found on the Disruptors Network.